The move to revoke CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance marks an escalation of the feud between the president and the intelligence community, with the president now directly linking his decision to Brennan's involvement in the Russia investigation. And this morning, Brennan is out with a new blistering op-ed in the New York Times in which he says, quote, Mr. Trump's claims of no collusion are, in a word, hogwash. Overnight, for the first time, President Trump drawing a direct connection to the Russia investigation and his controversial move to revoke the security clearance from former CIA Director John Brennan. The president telling the Wall Street Journal, I call it the rigged witch hunt. It is a sham, and these people let it, adding, so I think it's something that had to be done. Brennan, who was director of the CIA during the Obama administration, first told Mr. Trump the Russians had interfered in the election shortly before his inauguration. Now, an NBC News senior national security analyst, Brennan has been a fierce critic of the president.
Mr. Trump believes that this is going to lead me to just go away and be quiet. He is very badly mistaken.
Calling the president's decision unprecedented.
I've seen this type of behavior and actions on the part of foreign tyrants and despots and autocrats for many, many years. I never, ever thought that I would see it here in the United States.
Mr. Trump, in a statement delivered by his press secretary, accusing Brennan of putting the nation's classified information at risk by abusing his access.
Mr. Brennan has recently leveraged his status as a former high-ranking official with access to highly sensitive information to make a series of unfounded and outrageous allegations, wild outbursts on the internet and television about this administration.
For months, Brennan has criticized Mr. Trump and his policies.
I think the most divisive president we've ever had in the Oval Office.
Including after the president's controversial Helsinki summit with Vladimir Putin.
I equate it to the betrayal of one's nation.
But the president offering no evidence of any national security violation or disclosure of classified information by the former CIA director. The White House says the president is also reviewing clearances for other current and former officials, many of whom are Trump critics or involved in the Russia investigation. Among them, former CIA Director Michael Hayden, who spoke out forcefully overnight.
The White House just messaged the entire American intelligence community. If you stand up and say things that upset the president or with which he disagrees, he will punish you.
Well, the president, Kristen, has been threatening to pull that security clearance for, I guess, weeks, maybe even longer now. So why did he pull the trigger just yesterday?
Well, good question. And as we think about the timing, first, a little bit of context. John Brennan is someone who's worked with multiple presidents, Democrat and Republican. As to your question, Hoda, the president's statement yesterday was originally dated July 26th. That's 3 days after the White House first floated the idea of revoking security clearances. So a lot of people today are saying it looks like the White House had this announcement in its back pocket to try to change the conversation at a time of controversy. And while the White House is pushing back on that, saying, look, this mix-up was merely an error, officials here are eager to turn the page on multiple headlines. For one, Mr. Trump's former advisor, Omarosa, accusing him of using the N-word and of being in mental decline, and his former campaign chair on trial and facing the possibility of life in prison. Hoda, Savannah.
All right, a lot to cover. Kristen Welker at the White House. Kristen, thank you.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.